for the first season, we were all the pre-production was overseas. It was in Japan and at Walt Disney Animation Tokyo, and so after the original development was done, Frank went over to Tokyo. Frank Parr went over to Tokyo and worked with the character designers there, and they used Greg's work and Dave Schwartz's work and Bob Klein and Paul Felix. Those were our four main development artists. So if you pick a character, I can tell you who originated it. So for Angela, for Goliath, Demona, that was Greg here. For Xanatos, that was Bob Klein. For Brooklyn, Lexington, and Broadway, that was Dave Schwartz. For Bronx, it was Paul Felix. Hudson, I can't remember. Did you do Hudson?
Yeah, I think I did Hudson and Elisa.
Yeah.
That red jacket stayed with her through the whole thing.
Yeah. So
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then it all went through the gang over in Tokyo. But when we jumped from season 1 to season 2, we were jumping from doing 13 episodes in a year to doing 52 episodes in a year. And and so we had to quadruple the size of the crew. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, literally. And we still had the gang in Tokyo, but they were, one team operating at a slower schedule than the rest of our teams. So coming back to Burbank became all the things like character design and that BG design and BG paint and ink and paint, all those functions that had been done in Japan for season 1 for the most part were pulled back and done in Burbank. So we needed a lead guy, and Frank and I sat down, and of course Greg was our first choice. Not this Greg specifically, but just somebody named Greg.
Someone. Well, I mean, there's a lot of them apparently.
Yeah, so, too many. I think.
Bashansky was 10 years old, so he was out.
I wasn't that young.
I'm just making shit up now. No, obviously, it was Greg Guler, and we said, this is the guy. The whole show, the whole, action drama version of Gargoyles was created because Greg and I created Goliath together. And so he was the obvious person who understood what the show should look like and what our characters look like. And we went from there. And we had other character designers on the show, Mike Vosberg. I'm probably forgetting some people. Was Kenny Tompkins on for a little bit, or?
I don't think he was. I think Vosberg was the only guy, and I never actually had met him. He worked off campus, and I'd never met him, but I looked at a lot of his stuff. I think he did a lot of the things in the episode we'll be talking about that, and I didn't. But I did a couple of them. I thought that was a giant toupee you were picking up.
I wear them on my head.
It's wintertime.
He'd keep meowing if I didn't give him a little attention. So. Now he wants to go down again, so that was worthwhile.
Baby like that.
To our audio listeners, Greg has got a fur baby in there.
It's a cat. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a cat. Anyway, yeah. So I think it was a pretty obvious slam dunk to have Greg come aboard. Actually, I think some of the characters for this episode were probably done in Japan. Is my guess. Like the punks, the at the head of the episode, those felt like they were
a lot of mohawks.
Yeah, a lot of
you mean those very fine people, those guys?
Yeah.
And well built. They're all like.
But the big one in this episode was Griff that we struggled with. I just remember struggling with Griff for weeks to get him right. But we had Leo and Una, so we had three major new characters. And did you? I feel like you did. Maybe it was Vosberg. Douglas Bader, the RAF pilot. Did you do him or?
Yeah, I think that pilot is somebody else.
A photograph that was based off a photograph of the actual Douglas Bader.
Yeah, and it's funny, when I look at that episode. Are we talking about the episode now yet?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
jump in with it.
The business has changed. As a character designer, things have changed so much from when I started to when I left. I mean, we didn't have Google. We didn't have any of these search engines where you could look anything up and get reference on it. So, we had books and they had an archive at Disney where you'd go down and they had all these reference books and you'd look up everything. And now, nobody has to do that. They just go to a keyboard and type in World War II pilots, and there you got a plethora of them. And I've still got books on my shelves that I used for reference when I was a prop designer. And, of course, it's all ancient history now because most of those, you look at a space suit, an astronaut suit in one of these books, and it looks like from 1968 or something. But yeah, we used to, to have that archive of Google and everything else that you can look up now would have been so wonderful to have back in the day. We were scouring for anything we could find. I'm sure
I literally had a paperback book, which was a biography of Sir Douglas Bader, that I brought into the office, and it had, in the middle, it had like 8 or 9 photos, and we were working off this paperback that I brought from home.
Right. Well, this is not really about gargoyles, but when we started working on Tarzan, I had to go to the store and buy a Walter Foster How to Draw Tarzan book that, these Walter Foster books that would, every time Disney put out a feature, they'd put out a how to draw, Atlantis, how to draw all these other characters from the movies. And I had to actually go and buy the Tarzan one because we could get no reference from Disney when we were doing the TV series.
Why should they cooperate with you?
We had to drive about an hour away to the only theater that was still playing Tarzan when it got greenlit. We had to drive an hour, the producers and the writers, and we drove there and watched the movie. That's the only place we could find it in Simi Valley. And you couldn't get a videotape of it. Hercules was the same way. So, different day.
This should surprise me, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, and the people, the people that were at the feature archives were not wild about sharing anything with us. You'd go in there and we're from TV, and we're, I'm trying to figure out what the back of Tarzan's head looks like, and you're from TV.
Oh,
well, it didn't help.
Like,
that
was there like a pity thing going? Like, you're just from TV.
It didn't help that the guy who ran Disney Features at the time, every time we'd have a meeting with him, he's like, really, I think we should shut down Disney TV animation. I don't think that division should exist. We should only be doing features, which is the absolute best animation in the world. And you guys are diluting our brand. You shouldn't exist. And he couldn't get through a meeting without saying that. So the fact that trickled down even to the archives doesn't exactly shock me.
Garmin.
I wonder if that's even there anymore. Archive building, probably.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we can transition in the episode, but I do have a question. And Jennifer, I would love to hear you chime in on this since you've drawn a lot of gargoyles over the years yourself. The philosophy, we talked about last time we had Greg Guler on how they sold the designs of the gargoyles, how the wing, if the wings curved forward